Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Welcome to a community dedicated to providing spiritual tools for living a happy and full life. My name is Karina Shearer, and I am the spiritual director and founding minister here at the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta. If you would like to join us for the live Zoom meeting, please contact me for the link and the password, or check our website, www.cslpv.org, and you'll find the link on the weekly talk section. We are now into a new month. Today is Sunday, February 1st, 2026. And continuing with the annual theme of Open at the Top, the topic for this month is Embracing the Edge. Today, our topic is Living on the Inner Edge. One of the suggested books for reading this month is The Inward Journey by Howard Thurman. So at this time, I would like to once again welcome everyone, including those that are new to our teaching and to our center in Vallarta, whether you are on the live Zoom call or watching the replay at a later time. Here we honor all faith traditions, so whatever path you are on, know it is the right one for you. No matter what your background is, everyone is welcome here. We teach a philosophy called the Science of Mind. It's a teaching based on new thought and ancient wisdom, where we offer spiritual tools and principles to promote personal growth. And we honor diversity in all aspects. When Dr. Ernest Holmes founded this teaching in the 1920s, he had studied both Eastern and Western spiritual texts in order to create the science of mind, which focuses on the individual use of our thoughts and this powerful thing called the mind. When asked to provide a concise definition of the science of mind teaching, Holmes replied, "It is a correlation of laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations." So each week, we offer a service with an inspirational message. We offer the Zoom meeting at 10 a.m. and meet in person Sundays at noon. After each service, whether it's in person or online, hang out with us afterwards to enjoy a cup of coffee and some great conversation with like-minded people. So as we do each week, let's together review our purpose, vision, and mission statements. We have a grand purpose here each week, and that is to awaken and celebrate diversity and to love and serve our community. We do this by means of our vision, creating the life you desire, and this is supported by our mission to provide spiritual tools for personal growth and transformation. And more on all of these can be found on their own drop-down page on our website, if you so choose to learn more about that. And now, as we have been doing, once again, let's have a look at the creative thought prayer for Sunday, February 1st. Now, I'm using the Creative Thought magazine from 2014, which was the final year of it being in print. And so, as you know, creative thought prayer is done in the first person. So if you would like, please gently close your eyes and take these words as your own. There is one power and presence permeating everything in the universe. I rejoice that I am an individualized expression of it as it moves in its entirety in, through, and as me. I clarify my desired intentions, wisely choosing those that nurture and uplift me and all others in my world. Cooperating with the intelligence of the universe, I live in right action, able and willing to make any necessary changes so that the manifestations easily and peacefully work through me. In calm assurance, I go about my daily life, knowing that my declared intentions are now complete in divine mind and appear in due time in my world of effects. Grateful that this is the truth of my being, I completely release any concern or anxiety as I trust the law to respond creatively and intelligently to my truth. I live in calm assurance, and so it is. And that was originally submitted by Reverend Nancy Fagan from Jacksonville, Florida. So the edge is not a door, not a limit, it's a doorway. So this week, our journey inward to the threshold of transformation, where we ask, where am I being invited to stretch beyond self-judgment into deeper acceptance? Let's courageously explore the edge of our inner world, welcoming any discomfort at the birthplace of our growth. So I'm going to start with a story about William Dorsey Swann, the first queen of drag and a life on the edge. When we talk about embracing the edge, we're talking about more than just taking a risk. We're talking about stepping into the unknown, challenging the limits of what is considered acceptable, and daring to embrace a vision of life that others can't even imagine yet. Few figures illustrate this more powerfully than William Dorsey Swann, often called the first drag queen in the United States, and arguably the first person to lead a queer liberation movement in America. Born into slavery in Maryland, 1860, Swann came of age in a country still reeling from Civil War and Reconstruction. He was not simply living at the edge of history, he was forging it. By the 1880s, Swann had hosted what we now recognize as some of the first drag balls in Washington, D.C. Gatherings of Black men, now mainly former slaves, who dressed in elaborate gowns and danced in secret. Imagine that. In a time when simply existing as a free Black man was fraught with danger, Swann went further. He created spaces of joy, resistance, and radical self-expression. Police raided these balls, and Swann was arrested multiple times. In 1896, after one such arrest, he demanded a presidential pardon, not for himself alone, but for the right to dance in dresses without harassment. He believed it to be the first American on record to take legal action to defend LGBTQ rights. Swann's story is more than a footnote in queer history. It's a parable for this month's theme. To embrace the edge is to live where safety ends and transformation begins. Swann knew the stakes. He risked his freedom and safety to live his truth, and in doing so, he carved out a path for generations to follow. When we ask ourselves, what would be possible if we really believe that anything is possible? William Dorsey Swann's life offers an answer. It shows us that possibility is not just dreamed, it is lived, danced, and demanded. And our first quote for today is from Ernest Holmes. We should think of our lives as an increasing awareness, an ever-growing and expanding consciousness a never-ceasing progress of individual and collective evolution. So the standards of the human race are always in a state of flux, changing from generation to generation, from day to day, and from individual to individual. But the standard of spirit is ageless, changeless, and unvarying. It is perfection, nothing less. When the level of the individual's thinking is separated from that of the world and raised to that of the spirit, their standard changes from the imperfections to perfection. And this is the true norm. Regardless of their present experience, humans have access to perfection for the minutest detail of their life. Spirit could not possibly have had any idea which is less than perfection. Anything less than this implies an imperfect spirit or something opposed to God, which it cannot be. Spirit knows only the perfect and knows nothing of the imperfect. Every step of the great creative activity of spirit has been characterized by perfection. The tiniest organism adheres to a perfect pattern and functions according to a perfect law. And that was taken from the book, The Essential Earnest Homes by Jesse Jennings. So living on the inner edge is about meeting the tension between who we think we are and who we actually are. Howard Thurman describes how fiercely we cling to our private sense of self, even as life invites us to step beyond it. The inner edge, the boundary between the familiar and the unknown, often feels uncomfortable because it challenges our self-judgments and the small stories that we tell about ourselves. Ernest Holmes reminds us that while human, our standards shift and falter, and the standard of spirit is always perfection. Science of Mind teaches us that our true nature is already whole, perfect, complete, even if we don't believe it just yet. To live on the inner edge is to allow that perfection to seep into the cracks of our self-perception, softening judgment and expanding our acceptance. It is to release our grip on the private possession of our life and open to a greater identity, one that sees ourselves as spirit sees us. Holmes wrote this: human endeavor is an attempt to get back to first principles, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanishes. So we all have an inner edge, that point where our self-perception meets the deeper truth of who we are. And sometimes that edge feels like friction, self-doubt, criticism, or fear of not being enough. But what if we approach that edge not as a failing, but as an invitation? Together, we can learn to hold curiosity and compassion where judgment once lived. An edge is where certainty thins. It's the moment when old explanations stop working, when habits fray, when identities feel a little too tight. We usually call that discomfort failure because it interrupts momentum and bruises the ego. But if we reframe it as an invitation, the edge becomes a threshold rather than a wall. So seen this way, The edge invites curiosity instead of judgment. It asks, what is this tension revealing? What assumption is being questioned? What truth can't surface while I cling to what's familiar? The unease isn't evidence that something has gone wrong. It's evidence that something deeper is trying to be recognized and reorganize. Every meaningful transformation happens at an edge. Seeds split before they sprout, muscles tear before they grow stronger, and beliefs wobble before they mature. The edge is where growth negotiates with fear, where the known meets the impossible. And Holmes wrote this: the possibilities of the law are infinite, and our possibilities of using it are limitless. So Science of Mind teaches us that spirit knows only perfection. And this isn't called to, it's not called to be pretending that we're flawless. It's a call to see ourselves through the lens of divine wholeness. When we align our thinking with spirit, we begin to dissolve that harsh and shifting standards of race mind and rest in a deeper, unchanging truth. We are already enough. In How to Use the Science of Mind, Holmes wrote this: we should think of our lives as an increasing awareness, an ever-growing and expanding consciousness, a never-ceasing progress of individual and collective evolution. In The Inward Journey, Howard Thurman wrote, fierce indeed is the grip by which we hold onto our lives as our private possession. The struggle to achieve some sense of individuality is in the midst of other people and other things is grim. We are always surrounded by persons, forces, and objects which lay siege to us and seek to make us means of us means to the ends, or at least to their fulfillment. The demand is ever present to distinguish between the self and the not self. There are moments of enthusiasm when the mounting excitement we absorb ourselves in something beyond ourselves. But after this happens, we fight at length to get back home, to come again into the familiar place, to be secure in our own boundaries. Again and again, the process repeats itself, wearing down the walls that shut us in. So Howard Thurman's words show us that the cycle of expansion and return, that we stretch into something beyond ourselves and then scramble back to the familiar. Living on the edge means being willing to stay in that inner in-between space a little longer, trusting that the walls that once kept us safe may now be the very walls keeping us small. And Parker Palmer wrote this: here is the ultimate irony of the divided life. Live behind a wall long enough, and the true self you trying to hide from the world disappears from your own view. So living on the inner edge is not about being reckless with our inner life. It's about being brave enough to stretch beyond old judgments into new awareness. Thurman shows us that this stretching and returning is part of the human rhythm. And Holmes reminds us that Spirit's standard is always perfection. When we rest in the truth, we can soften our grip on who we think we are and lean into who we truly are. Together, we stand on the threshold of self-acceptance, choosing to cross. So take some time this week to journal about your inner edge. Where do you feel resistance to self-acceptance? And what judgments or stories about yourself are you holding on to a little too tightly? Reflect on what it would feel like to loosen that grip. And imagine Spirit looking at you through the eyes of perfection. What does Spirit see? And perhaps meditate on this question. What part of myself am I ready to welcome home? And I'll leave you with this quote. Don't follow your passion, follow your curiosity. And that leads us to our affirmation for the week. I meet my inner edge with courage, curiosity, and compassion. And now for news and updates at our center. We are now in our new location since November, and that is at the Living Room Bookstore and Cafe in Cinco de Diciembre. And the location is noted on its own drop-down page on our website. If you are interested in learning more about the Science of Mind teaching, we do offer courses via Zoom as well as in person. So connect with me or check our website to find out details. And there's also a survey there where you can input any specific courses that or book studies or whatever you would like to see in the upcoming weeks or months. And let me know what it is that you want so that we can plan for these. Also, if you would like to have a one-on-one connection for a spiritual mind treatment, please let me know so that we can make time for this as well. And that can either be by telephone, Zoom, Messenger, WhatsApp, or in person. So if you would like to become a member of the Center for Spiritual Living Puerto Vallarta for this current year, as membership does renew annually, or if you'd like to be on our board of trustees, please contact me so that you can be sent the current forms. And our annual general meeting with the board will be in April, I believe. And you are all welcome to come and join us on the Zoom meeting. But in order to vote, you must be a member. I'd also like to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. The more you like and comment on YouTube, it affects the algorithm so that it gets out to more people. So please support us in that. And let me know if you would like to receive the weekly post via Substack. So now it is time for mindful giving and financial support of our spiritual home. We rely on your support to continue our center here in Vallarta so that we can continue offering this powerful teaching of the science of mind. We bless the financial gifts that you give. Every donation is appreciated. And donations can be made via PayPal or Tithely on our website, www.cslpv.org, and you'll find the donate buttons for both of them on the landing page, as well as at the top of the page where you find the weekly talk videos. Alternatively, you can still send in a paper check by addressing it to CSLPV number 403, 2125 Birch Road, Kelowna, BC, B1Y8M1. And of course, we still accept cash. And now, please join me in our offertory affirmation. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I do give eternal thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. So thank you for coming and sharing this time together. And let's continue practicing peace. We can each be a force for peace and nonviolence. Our words and our actions create ripples of peace all around us and beyond. Peaceful living includes acting with compassion, kindness, and consideration. And it also includes standing up against injustice. And now more than ever before, we need to stand for peace. Hug your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, and hug yourself. May peace and love be with you. Blessings to all. Namaste.